It's Freestyle Friday!
Coming in hot with quick shots of inspiration on a variety of topics.
Let's talk about a perfect day.
Yes, let's talk about it.
That was another Coach Neil kind of question he asked us, going, piggybacking from Wednesday, right?
Yes. And really thinking through, if there were no limits, if you didn't have to do anything.
Your day was a blank canvas. Anything you want, what would it be like?
Yeah, like what would that be like? And I remember reflecting on that question years ago and thinking, gosh, if I could do anything I want, whenever I want, I would live in Lululemons. I wouldn't have to dress up and not necessarily just I would live in athletic wear. I would wake up and do something that fills my soul in the morning, listen to music, listen to inspirational something. I would sit out on my porch or on the patio and slowly drink a warm cup of something comforting. I would kind of go with the flow of the day. I literally remember thinking that years ago. And now, because my life was so far from that, I was that's a dream. And that only happens for 2 people on the planet. And now I'm that's literally, we have that now.
Yeah.
And so thinking through now, what does a perfect day look like? I think, and we were talking about this before we hit record, but don't you think it starts the night before?
Yeah. And I think it's cool because we talked about this offline, last week when Coach Neil, we're going to refer to him as Coach Neil, right?
Yeah.
That's what we call him, Coach Neil. When Coach Neil asked us it, because Sandy and I approached it differently. I remember when I was like, hey, what'd your perfect day look like? And I started to talk about mine. She was like, oh my gosh, you were almost looking at it as it's my last day on earth. What do I do? I just looked at it as within my life right now, what does a perfect day look like? Not as if it's my last day. So that was a cool thing because there's no right or wrong, right? It's just your interpretation of it.
Yeah, your perspective.
But I also, and I think let's maybe get into a little bit about that, but I love what you just brought up, how you're now living your perfect days from years ago.
Yes.
And
but now my answer is different than it was years ago.
Right. And it evolves.
So let's go through what we shared the other day. So when we were reflecting on that, I asked Wade, I'm like, so what's your perfect day? And he told me, and I was like, that's what you would do. If you had one day left on the planet. And he's like, oh, well, no, that's not what I thought of. And I'm like, well, why aren't you living every day like it's your last day? And he's like, wow, I wasn't thinking of it like that. So I'd love for you to share. What did you share with me when we were on that walk?
Yeah, I think, wow, there's so much to unpack there. But for me, I was approaching it it's not my last day. It's my life. I'm going to live till 120. And what does a perfect day look like over and over again? Not that I want the same thing every day, but I was I think we had similar stuff, but I would wake up with the sunrise. I love being up early in the morning. It's peaceful. It's calm. The world isn't awake yet. There's no one trying to get you, distract you. You don't have to put out fires. You're just in your peaceful zone and you watch the sunrise. And I love doing, morning routine, miracle morning stuff. I want to meditate. I want to read. I want to write in my gratitude journal. I want to journal. And in all that space, I want a space to do that. But I also want a space probably maybe right after where Sandy and Cam wake up and I get to play with you guys and the sun's rising and it's absolutely beautiful. And we're looking out at our view from our house, from our bedroom. And we just get to play and connect in the morning, first thing, again, still before the world starts working and everything. And we're just playing, we're smiling, we're loving, we're happy, we're kissing. Perfect day might involve maybe when Cam goes down for a nap, some morning adult activities, maybe. That sounds pretty perfect. And then I think I'd go exercise. Exercise, I realize, is a huge happiness factor for me. The hormones, the endorphins, everything. So I'd probably go do CrossFit or probably something. And then I may jump in the ocean after, maybe catch a few waves, and then I'd come home and start intentionally, I think purposeful life. I'd want to be doing something to better the world, and that my calling, my career. I want my career, what I focus on every day. How do I better the world? So not just I'm going to have the most fun. I'm going to be chilling on the beach all day. I want to have some focus on service to the world and on my calling and where it feels like my zone of genius, what that looks like. And I realize we are doing that. Not everything is sexy and easy, but overall, we're helping people. We're helping people believe in themselves. We're helping them in their health. We're helping them build businesses, build their finances. So it feels a part of my calling. Eat healthy food all day. be, vital. And then I think at night, some sort of like barbecue with our family and loved ones and being around loved ones. There was some other stuff in there, but I think that's like a general like scope or arc of like a perfect day for me.
Yeah. And that does sound like a great day. Meanwhile, my answer was like, okay, the perfect day is both of our families and our like close friends. We're all like somewhere tropical where there's no service. And the only thing we need to worry about is like, do we want like extra side of guac and like constant skinny margs with like tahini on the rim being delivered to the cabana? We're all playing. The kids are in the sand. There's music. Like there's a slight breeze. The water is like so clear and clean and like warm, and I'm not scared to go in it. And like we're all playing and splashing around and like laughing and making memories. And like we're like looking at each other, like, look at this life that we've built. Like we've worked so hard and been so intentional that like we were able to sponsor this entire thing for our family, like, and our friends. Like we all like are here together, just celebrating life, because life is just so precious. And like, that was my perfect day of kind of like, we're in the moment. Like we're not worried about like anything going on. We're not responding to emails. We don't owe anyone anything in terms of a response or this or that. We're not on social media. There's literally no service. We're just like in the moment and laughing and full of joy and like just so in love with our life and with the people that like make it so rich. And presence, like, like presence, like that is really something that like the perfect day to me is fully being so present and in the moment that it's like, I don't need anything else, because the only reason I exist is to be here right now.
This is so perfect. Like our different interpretations of this question, I think is so perfect and so beneficial, especially as we are, sharing and you guys are listening, in the sense of Sandy interpreted it like, I have one day. What am I doing? And I think that is so valuable to know. Like you have one day left. What are you doing? What does your perfect day look like? Because gosh, I better start scheduling more of those days into my life. Now, my brain went to, now that Sandy's perfect day, never say never, but is probably not a day you could live every day for the rest of your life. And I'll go as far as saying, Sandy probably doesn't want to live that day every day for the rest of her life. She wants, you probably want
I don't need perfect days, but I was asked, what's the perfect day?
Right,
and that was my perfect day.
And I think that's cool. And versus my interpretation was, what's a perfect day that I would live over and over and over again? Not that I want to do the same thing every day, but where it's like, this isn't my last day. This is a perfect day within my life now of, if I could just fully decide, what do I want to do today? And I'm going to live to see tomorrow and the next day. And I'm going to stack these perfect days over. What does that look like? And I think that's important too, because then you look at, what does my day look like versus my perfect day that I would live over and over. And you start to compare, contrast, be like, gosh, I got to start doing more of that stuff. Is yoga involved? Is playing with your kids? Is having a family dinner? Is working in something that you're passionate about? Like, what does that look like? Start to move towards it. And then Sandy's is just that presence that, typical, what people call maybe vacation, is like, do more of that stuff. Go be present and with your family and not worrying about a world, just your next margarita or guac on the side or whatever. Like, we need both things. But I think getting so clear on what both of those days look like is so important, because so many of us go and wake up, and this was me and it was Sandy at one point in our lives, but wake up and do a job or something that we don't love just to wake up the next day and do it over again, to pay the bills, to perpetuate just 5 days a week doing something we don't love just to pay the bills. And it perpetuates. So it's like, whoa, hold on. What does my perfect day look like? And when I told Coach Neil my perfect day, he's like, awesome, do that. We can monetize that. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know yet, but like, we could have someone start to videotape that. You could see, there's so many things now you could do. You could start a YouTube channel, you could whatever. And I'm like, wow, I love the way you think. But the moral of the story is, do you know what your perfect day looks like? And then also, even just going into a day, let's say you're like, all right, wait, Sandy, I do have to go to work today and I don't love my work. What if you, the night before or the morning of, just started to envision a day that goes really well for you? What happens in that day? What are you doing in that day? Maybe you do have to go to work, but maybe, you make some good connections. Maybe after work, you're going to yoga. Maybe during lunch, you get to meet with a friend. Maybe you have a family barbecue that night. Like, what does the perfect day look like? Start to forecast it or project it. Think about it before it happens, because you're going to start to bring it to life.
And I would think through as well, if you feel like your day is pretty predictable, like I know exactly what's going to happen. It's Friday. This is, the office is a little bit more excited today because TGIF, blah, blah, blah. What if you're like, okay, it's pretty predictable what's going to happen. What can I do to switch it up? What if you walked or biked or drove to work or did a different modality of getting to work? And what if you went a different way than normal? What if there's like a straight shot, like 1 mile down the road to get there? What if you're like, wait, I'm going to go through a different neighborhood to get there? You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what circumstance or event or opportunity is going to come into your path. Remember, things don't happen by accident. People, circumstances, events, like life doesn't happen by accident. And it could literally you be making a right instead of a left, or going that extra block or two to get to your office or to get to your destination or whatever it is that could literally like change the course of your life. Just some fun things to think about.
Yes.
So I want to challenge you to identify someone in your life. It could be a best friend. It could be someone you don't really know well, whoever just popped into your head, like literally identify a person that you want to have this conversation with and reach out to them and be like, okay, this is like kind of random that I'm reaching out, but I just listened to this podcast and it made me wonder, like, I want to know what your perfect day is. Like, listen to this episode. Listen to this episode. What is your perfect day? I want to talk about my perfect day and let's go there. Cause quite honestly, when Wade and I talked about that, I'm like, I know him like the freaking back of my hand. And I was like pretty surprised that was his perfect day. And he was probably surprised at my perfect day. So even if someone is like your lifer and you literally share a bed with them and you spend every moment together, you might still be surprised and learn something about them. So I hope this was valuable. I hope this was entertaining. Thank you for your time and energy and holding the space. And we are wishing you a beautiful, blessed day.
Bye. Only those that can see the invisible can do the impossible.
So remember, you are magnetic.